Alrighty, party peoples of the interwebs, I didn't wake up today thinking I was going to do a fact check,
but the fake fact checkers made me do it.
Viva Fry, former Montreal litigator turned current Florida rumbler, in my home office, and it is Sunday, which means we are about 4 hours away from a Viva and Barnes Law Extravaganza Sunday night show. If you don't watch it every Sunday night. If you're not subscribed, make sure you're subscribed right now and turn on notifications. Now, I often refer to the fact checkers as the wordsmiths of the devil because that's exactly what they are, and as some of you might know, Kari Lake is right now running against Rubin Gallego in Arizona, and there have been some rumors floating around as to Rubin Gallego's family ties to cartels, and I had to go read a fact check to fact check one of Kari Lake's statements. Holy crab apples, they are indeed the wordsmiths of the devil. Now, first things first, full disclaimers, I have a bet that Kari Lake is going to win Arizona, and it's on predicted, so as the markets shift, I can decide to sell that if the odds reach closer to 50-50, which by all accounts is what they are, give or take. Right now, Kari Lake is at a 5-to-1 underdog, both on predicted and Polymarket, so I think it's a good bet, at least to ride for the time being. That's the disclaimer. The other disclaimer, if you want to evaluate my bias in this vlog, I like Kari Lake. I think she's a wonderful, amazing person, a fantastic leader, and my goodness, I can understand why she is a threat to the powers that be, which is why they're fighting tooth and nail to discredit her in her run against Rubin Gallego in Arizona. And by fighting tooth and nail, it means, oh my goodness, running fact checks on behalf of Rubin Gallego that I believe qualify as campaign contributions. Now, before we even get started, on Polymarket, they have Rubin Gallego at an 80% favorite. On Predicted, they have Rubin Gallego as an 80% favorite, when according to all other polls out there, it's roughly 43 to 47%, almost 50-50. I'm rounding it up just to make a point. By no means 5-to-1 underdog, so it's a good bet, it's an interesting bet, but I don't understand how they have it at those odds. From a Newsweek article, Lake, a former President Donald Trump endorsed candidate, will go up against Gallego in the November 5 election. For weeks, Gallego has remained steadily ahead of his opponent, although it's still a fairly close race for a key Senate seat. With just about 3 weeks until Election Day, Lake has slightly narrowed the gap with Gallego, albeit by less than a percentage point. A poll by the Republican-linked Trafalgar Group conducted on September 11 and September 12 showed Gallego leading Lake by 4.2 points, 47.2 to 43%. A victory for Gallego is crucial for Democrats to keep their slim majority in the Senate. There are currently 48 Democrats and 3 independents who caucus with them, and 49 Republicans in the upper chamber. Republicans will be looking to flip control with Arizona's race, as well as races in Montana, Ohio, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin's seat is expected to turn red after the Democrat-turned-independent decided not to seek re-election. All right, with that said, let's get back to the fact check. There have been some rumors circulating on the internet, a number of rumors, one of which concerned Rubin Gallego's divorce to his wife, how he fought tooth and nail to fight the release of his divorce records, and when they were ultimately released after having fought tooth and nail, they didn't reveal all that much, although there was a section in those documents to the effect that the parties agree there has been no history of domestic violence or something along those lines. I'll read that to you right now. The records revealed that the couple avoided a trial by agreeing to terms of a consent decree. It stated, quote, the parties acknowledge and agree that there was no domestic violence during the marriage or that significant domestic violence did not occur, end quote. The judge added to that portion, quote, the parenting plan shall include a statement that there has been no significant history of domestic violence between the parties, end quote. A family law attorney told the Arizona Times regarding the language, quote, if it was a settlement agreement, that's how people get around there actually being domestic violence that would impact a court's decision with respect to the kids, end quote. Some people hypothesize that that statement in these court documents, or at least in the settlement documents, might be an indication of the exact opposite, but setting aside that, there have also been rumors online, people saying that the Rubin Gallego family has ties to cartels, and Kari Lake said as much during an interview. This is the statement that PolitiFact went out and fact-checked. Listen to this.
I want to confront the cartels. He is controlled by the cartels. His own father was a Columbian drug trafficker. And so he's got links to the cartel, and that is very concerning, and it should be concerning for everybody out there.
And so obviously the wordsmiths of the devil fact checkers have to go out and fact check this, and PolitiFact, which is a confirmed liar of a fact checker, goes out and fact checks it as follows. Kari Lake stated on September 27, 2024 in a TV interview, Rep. Rubin Gallego is, quote, controlled by the cartels. His own father was a Columbian drug trafficker, and so he's got links to the cartel, end quote. And their assessment right there on the right, Pants on fire. Now, considering that most people never take 2 seconds to read past the headline, and I am not most people, I read past the headline, and then they have another summary section in these PolitiFact fact checks that summarize the article for those who are actually too lazy to go on to read the fact check in its entirety, and I am not one of those people, but this is what the "if your time is too short, this is what it says" part of the fact check has to say. If your time is short, when U.S. Rep. Rubin Gallego, Democrat from Arizona, was a child, his father was arrested for possessing cocaine and marijuana with intent to distribute, according to Gallego's 2021 memoir. As an adult, Gallego has had scant contact with his father, who is from Mexico, not Colombia, and there's no evidence that the relationship means Gallego is connected to foreign criminal organizations. The campaign of Republican Carrie Lake, Gallego's Republican U.S. Senate opponent, gave no evidence to support her accusation. It's so absurd it's actually somewhat comical. After the fact check itself gives some form of some evidence, however weak you might consider that evidence to be of the allegation, they then go on to say that Carrie Lake gave no evidence of the allegation when it's quoted in his memoir itself. But don't worry, it gets even worse if you actually go to read the body of that fact check. Later on in the fact check, Gallego's father has a criminal history, but Lake gets the facts wrong, and her claim that Gallego is connected to foreign criminal organizations lacks evidence. First, Gallego's father is not Colombian. He was originally from Mexico, and he emigrated to the U.S. as a teenager, according to Gallego's 2021 memoir. Quote, "They called us lucky," end quote. Gallego's mother's family came to the U.S. from Colombia when she was a teenager, Gallego wrote. They then discuss how Gallego apparently had minimal contact with his father, but if you read a little bit further on, it's almost at the end. Listen to what Gallego himself has to say about his family and their alleged ties to foreign drug cartels. Quote, "If my father was making any money from his involvement, we never saw it," end quote, he wrote. Quote, "Eventually my father was busted and found guilty of felony possession with intent to sell cocaine and marijuana. My uncle made it out worse. He was shot and killed in Mexico. I never found out the details and don't care to," end quote. His father was busted for possession of cocaine and marijuana with intent to sell, on behalf of whom you'll just have to guess. And his uncle was shot and killed in Mexico, and they say that there is no evidence that there's a family connection to the cartels? And I posted this to Twitter, and someone actually replied with a very insightful observation that I hadn't thought of, and then I had to go back and watch Carrie Lake's video again. This is what they said. From Right-Wing Vegan at Right-Wing Vegan 2. She didn't say he was Colombian. She said the drugs were from Colombia. And with that, I had to go back and listen to what Carrie Lake said, and she did in fact say his own father was a Colombian drug trafficker, because it is something of a dangling modifier that he was Colombian and drug trafficking, or that he was trafficking Colombian drugs, which I think most people would think is a safe guess, even if it's coming out of Mexico. So while I'm not coming to any definitive conclusions about a family connection to the cartel, some people could draw those conclusions from these set of facts. To say that it's pants on fire false is itself outright spin, and I dare say a campaign contribution to Rubin Gallego. Whatever, we know that the fact checks are all a bunch of liars, a bunch of wordsmiths for the devil. We will discuss this tonight with Robert Barnes, 6 o'clock every Sunday. If you like what I do, you know what to do, but most importantly, exercise, eat healthy, sunshine, and I just realized I have a pink scrunchie on my wrist. That's great, but more importantly, now you know your vlog. Peace out, peeps. Booyah!
Chief, you know that guy whose camper they were whacking off in?
Mork, you are a federal agent. You represent the United States government. Never end a sentence with a preposition.
Oh, you know that guy in whose camper they... I mean, that guy off in whose camper they were whacking.
That's better.